A lot of the books here in the Pentateuch, they do this thing where they move forward and then they double back to explain something in more detail. And we've had so many chapters like this. It really slows down the pace, but it definitely increases clarity by having different aspects of an individual story explained. So we'll see what's happening here. Deuteronomy 7:1. When the Lord your God brings you into the land which you are entering to possess, and have plucked away many nations before you, the Hittites, the Girgashites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than you. After Moses is done briefing the Israelites, at the end of the book of Deuteronomy, the Israelites are going to go into the promised land, and the land is going to be filled with a tremendous amount of enemies. But the Lord is going to give them strength so that they can take possession of it. And all of these nations individually are superior to the Israelites, but because they have God on their side, they will be able to overcome them all. Deuteronomy 7:2. And when the Lord your God gives them over to you, and you smite them, then you must utterly destroy them. You shall make no covenant with them, or show mercy to them. So part of the briefing that the Israelites are receiving deals with how they are to interact with the people that are in the land. They're not supposed to make any deals with them. They're not supposed to make deals with the enemy and compromise in any way, shape, or form. We'll see what happens later. And they are also not to show any mercy. They are to destroy these people and take possession of their land. Total annihilation. This is one of those verses, here in the previous chapter, other chapters around this area, where people complain about the cruelty of God and calling for the destruction of these people and, men, women, and children, just destroying them all. But we're going to see Israel. They're going to fail at doing these things. And these people, they're going to rise up and they're going to be a thorn in their side for generations. The amount of suffering it is going to cause is far greater than the amount it would be if they would have obeyed the Lord and destroyed these people in the first place. The other thing people don't really get about verses like this is the historical context of who these people are and what they are like. They're not friendly people who simply had a disagreement. These people are doing child sacrifice and doing all manner of wicked things that are incredibly detestable. I wouldn't be surprised if they were also doing cannibalism and incest and torture and just wicked, wicked people. Not the type of people you can reason with. Deuteronomy 7:3. You shall not make marriages with them. Your daughter you shall not give to his son, nor shall you take his daughter for your son. Marriages throughout history have been ways of creating bonds between different families or different groups or even different countries. But what we see here is a prohibition on these types of relationships. Now, this would be something that could bring someone into the family that has baggage from their own family, bringing that idolatry into the house of Israel, corrupting the people that interact with them. We saw previously an event where some of the Israelites were tempted and they were drawn away and brought out to these pagan idols, and they participated in their rituals and the worship of their deities, and may have even participated in human or child sacrifice. This is something that the Lord really did not like. And the Lord is a jealous God, and he doesn't want these people worshiping anything other than him. So we saw a great plague, and God eliminated these people after they participated in these things. So when it comes to marriages to these foreigners, non-Israelites. It could be that it was problematic and something that could corrupt the Israelites. And God had to eliminate his own people before, and I don't think that's something that he particularly likes to do. He would much rather that they didn't get involved with this, and that they weren't corrupted, and that they married their own, stayed within the tribe of Israel. Deuteronomy 7:4. For they will turn away your son from following me, that they may serve other gods. So will the anger of the Lord be kindled against you, and he will destroy you quickly. So we see the justification now as to why there was the prohibition on the marriage to these people, that they would corrupt and it would cause destruction to follow. The Lord is a jealous God, and he does not appreciate people leading other people away from him. Deuteronomy 7:5. But thus shall you deal with them. You shall break down their altars, and dash in pieces their pillars, and hew down their Asherim, symbols of the goddess Asherah, and burn their graven images with fire. As we know, God is a jealous God, and he desires to be number one. He wants to have a loving relationship with his people, the Israelites, and he wants them to be successful. One of the ways of doing that is to keep them from temptation by having them destroy the altars and the religious artifacts of the people that were there previously. They did a lot of wicked, evil things, and God doesn't want his people that he loves to be tempted by those things, to fall into those ways, to fall away from him. So by destroying these things, they won't be corrupted by them. This is something that's incredibly important. Deuteronomy 7:6. For you are a holy and set apart people to the Lord your God. The Lord your God has chosen you to be a special people to himself out of all the people on the face of the earth. God has selected the people of Israel for a definite purpose, and he has selected their forefathers for that reason as well. They have a special purpose in the world. And Israel, as God's people, they need to be holy and consecrated to him in order to fulfill their task at hand. The task at hand and the purpose is to prepare the way for the Messiah, so that the Messiah can redeem humanity from sin. In order to do this, there needs to be many different prophecies and the fulfillment of prophecy to demonstrate God's handiwork and demonstrate things that only God would be able to do, to allow people to know that this is the people of God, and that God is real and God is directing them, making the impossible possible and demonstrating the future before it occurs. Deuteronomy 7:7. The Lord did not set his love upon you and choose you because you were more in number than any other people, for you were the fewest of all people. The Lord didn't pick the winner. He didn't pick the strongest people. He picked the weakest people as a way of demonstrating his power and his ability, that he could take the runt, the weakest one, and lead them to greatness. Deuteronomy 7:8. But because the Lord loves you, and because he would keep the oath which he has sworn to your fathers, the Lord has brought you out with a mighty hand, and redeemed you out of the house of bondage, from the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. The Lord is righteous, and he is holy. As such, he is not able to lie. He is not able to make a promise and break it, for then he would no longer be holy or righteous. So those oaths that he made to the forefathers of the Israelites, he has to keep those. Maybe there's some wiggle room in the way that they're written down, but he has to fulfill them. We can demonstrate this with a previous event. Well, actually, I think it happened multiple times, where God was very frustrated with Israel and he was ready to wipe them out. And Moses pleaded on their behalf. God could wipe out Israel and he could make a new nation from the loins of Moses. And that would still be descendants of Israel, so he could still fulfill his promise. But of course, Moses negotiated against that. And God went with that. He continued on and endured the journey with the Israelites. So there was definitely multiple ways that God could have done things and still been within his right with how he made his oaths. But he didn't do it the easiest way possible. He went down to Egypt and he pulled the Israelites out of Egypt in order to make them his people. If anything, it's probably the most difficult way he could have done it. The way that he ended up doing it really demonstrated his power. He took this weak nation out of Egypt. Egypt was one of the strongest nations of the era, the breadbasket of the world. Took these people out of there and then led them to the promised land, which was filled with these other great and mighty nations, and allowed them to take possession of the land. Definitely a very interesting way of doing things. Deuteronomy 7:9. Know, recognize, and understand, therefore, that the Lord your God, he is God, the faithful God, who keeps covenant and steadfast love and mercy with those who love him, and keep his commandments to 1,000 generations. This is probably a tremendous event for the Israelites as Moses is teaching them. And I don't think they necessarily realize the degree in which the Lord loves them and cares about them and wants to see them succeed. But we have lines like this that spell out some of that. That the Lord is faithful and he's going to keep his covenant. God didn't have to make these covenants with these people, but he chose to. He made himself vulnerable to make these promises. And we see that he is going to keep them throughout the generations. But he does have a desire for them to be obedient and to follow his commandments. In order for God to be with them, they have to be holy. And in order to do that, they need to follow the rules that are outlined by him and do the sacrifices and the offerings and all these things to cover the sins so that he is able to be with them. For he is a righteous and holy God. Deuteronomy 7:10. And repays those who hate him to their face by destroying them. He will not be slack to him who hates him, but will requite him to his face. God is an incredible ally to have, but he makes for a terrible enemy. And those that go against him are not going to do very well. They are going to be destroyed. And he is going to protect his people. And he is going to destroy their enemies. Deuteronomy 7:11. You shall therefore keep and do the instruction, laws, and precepts which I command you this day. We have seen this reiterated multiple times, that the Lord has a desire for his people to be obedient to him and to follow his rules, so that he is able to look after them. For in those times when they're disobedient and they're not following the rules, he needs to chastise them to get them back in the proper place. Deuteronomy 7:12. And if you hearken to these precepts and keep and do them, the Lord your God will keep with you the covenant and steadfast love which he swore to your fathers. 7:13. And he will love you, bless you, and multiply you. He will also bless the fruit of your body and the fruit of your land, your grain, your new wine, and your oil, the increase of your cattle, and the young of your flock, in the land which he swore to your fathers to give you. When you read this, it almost seems like God is just looking for an excuse to bless the people even more. And the blessings that he gives them are incredible. Deuteronomy 7:14. You shall be blessed above all people. There shall not be male or female barren among you, or among your cattle. Back in the olden era, having children was an advantage. If you had farmland, you could farm more if you had more helpers. And the more children you had, as they got older, they would do chores. And that would help the farmstead. Or if they were looking after animals, they would be able to look after them better by having more people to help out. Of course, when it comes to the reproduction of animals, the more animals one has, the more wealth they would have. I imagine that back in the day, during these times, the birth rate or the deaths in childbearing were probably tremendously higher than they are now. So there would be a certain degree of risk, but the Israelites are going to be looked after here by the blessings of the Lord. Deuteronomy 7:15. And the Lord will take away from you all sickness, and none of the evil diseases of Egypt which you knew will he put upon you, but will lay them upon all who hate you. The blessings of the Lord here seem to be describing all aspects of life, from the wealth to the birth to the quality of life. All good things. Deuteronomy 7:16. And you shall consume all the people whom the Lord your God will give over to you. Your eye shall not pity them, neither shall you serve their gods, for that would be a snare to you. So now we see some more of these conditions. And not all of them are going to be easy to do. We have the requirement for the Israelites to go into this promised land and to drive out these people, but they are to exterminate them, to kill man, woman, and child, to destroy everyone. And that is something that is incredibly difficult to do. We have seen an event already occur when they were battling the Midianites in Numbers 31, that they went in there, they killed all the men, but they came back with the women, and Moses compromised with them, and they killed every woman that was not a young virgin. But in reality, they were all supposed to be exterminated. Even reading about this and talking about this is difficult. I can't imagine what the Israelites went through having to do this. We're going to see later on events where they failed to do this, and the people, they came back, they rebuilt, and they really became a thorn in the side of Israel, and they inflicted unbelievable pain and suffering. Deuteronomy 7:17. If you say in your mind and heart, these nations are greater than we are, how can we dispossess them? 7:18. You shall not be afraid of them, but remember earnestly what the Lord your God did to Pharaoh and to all Egypt. 7:19. The great trials which your eyes saw, the signs, the wonders, the mighty hand, and the outstretched arm by which the Lord your God brought you out. So shall the Lord your God do to all the people of whom you are afraid. The Israelites are going to have weaknesses in the flesh. They're going to see just how great and mighty these people are. And it's going to make them afraid. But the Lord here is reminding them of the events that transpired before, with them being taken out of Israel and the great miracles that the Lord has performed. He can look after this. They just simply need to believe on him and trust in him that he can deliver them from these things. Deuteronomy 7:20. Moreover, the Lord your God will send the hornet among them until those who are left and hide themselves from you are destroyed. I always like verses like this because it shows the creativity of the Lord. These people, they're here, they need to go so the Israelites can go in and take possession of the land. So what's God going to do? He's going to send the hornets in. So I just picture this giant swarm of hornets going into the city, giving everybody a rough time till they're on the run. And once they're on the run, I mean, what can they really do to defend themselves? It just seems kind of ridiculous. But it's a very creative way of solving this problem. And it's funny, too, with it being the land of milk and honey. It's like, well, there's all that honey. Well, how'd it get there? Well, there's lots of hornets. Deuteronomy 7:21. You shall not dread them, for the Lord your God is among you, a mighty and terrible God. 7:22. And the Lord your God will clear out those nations before you, little by little. You may not consume them quickly, lest the beast of the field increase among you. The Lord is always telling his people not to be afraid, that he is with them, and he can deliver them from their hard times. And I find it interesting here that when it comes to the possession of the land, the Lord isn't just going to drive everybody out all at once, because then all the wild animals would reproduce like crazy, and that would be problematic. I can just picture there being like thousands of wolves or something, so it would be very hard to get things done. So they're going to take out different places one at a time, or maybe a couple at a time, and then take possession of them before moving on to the next location to conquer. And that makes a lot of sense. The Lord is making use of his enemies to prevent the wild beasts from reproducing like crazy. Deuteronomy 7:23. But the Lord your God will give them over to you, and will confuse them with a mighty panic until they are destroyed. So here we have another unique way in which the Lord is dealing with these people. He's going to make them panic, so they're not going to be thinking straight. And they're going to be all running around like crazy, and Israel's just going to be able to run in there and stomp them out. And it doesn't matter how strong they are, for when they're in panic, it doesn't mean anything. Deuteronomy 7:24. And he will give their kings into your hand, and you shall make their name perish from under the heavens. There shall no man be able to stand before you until you have destroyed them. So Israel's going to go in there, and with the help of the Lord, they're going to wipe these people off the face of the earth. Deuteronomy 7:25. The graven images of their gods you shall burn with fire. You shall not desire the silver or gold that is on them, nor take it for yourselves, lest you be ensnared by it. For it is an abomination to the Lord your God. A lot of the idols are going to be very ornate. The locals are going to have put a lot of their time and energy in making these things. So it makes sense that they would decorate them with gold and silver. But that is a temptation towards the Israelite, where they could take that. So God is forbidding them from taking these things and directing them to destroy them. Deuteronomy 7:26. Neither shall you bring an abomination, an idol, into your house, lest you become an accursed thing like it. But you shall utterly detest and abhor it, for it is an accursed thing. I don't think God is downplaying the significance to any of these things and the dangers of these idols and idol worship. Calling out for the destruction of them is probably a pretty good idea to prevent future temptations. And forbidding them from bringing them into the house, that makes a lot of sense as well. For there could be people that are weaker in spirit in the house and will not be able to resist them in the same way. Children and whatnot. God just wants them to be successful and they can't be successful if they're idolaters.